Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Guns and Guitars Community Build Giveaway. Last week you joined me for making this beautiful flame maple purple burst, and look at all that awesome depth and dimension we got in there. Really nice. I did work on it a little bit more. I'll talk about that in a little bit. As you can see, I went ahead and did my trick on this upper F hole right here. You remember we had some nasty glue spots that kind of looked like, almost had like a flame job coming off of it. So you can see I covered that up pretty well. I wanted to make sure that my trick actually does work before I showed you guys how to do it. So I did it there. So I'm going to show you now how we're going to fix this upper horn where we have that glue spot real quick. Because that's something you guys expressed interest in wanting to see. So we'll do that before we do the back and sides. But let's go ahead and talk about business first. First of all, wow, the lighting, I did not do a good job setting this up today. I was in a hurry. It's a little bit better. Oh, you can see my ring light in the shot now. Well, not that it really matters. Anyway, firstly, check out my sweet new mug that my son made me in his art class. I appreciate you guys allowing us to move our live stream time back to 6 o'clock so that my son can have an art class and Mrs. Guns can join us. So Mrs. Guns is in the chat. She's moderating as usual. So everybody say hi to her. What's up, Jimmy Lamb? What's up, JC the Geek? Good to see you guys. All right, so talking about business first, we have to decide what we're doing for the back and sides, okay? And you guys chose in the polls, or what goes to the polls is we could either leave it natural, which is what I'd hoped for. We could do black sides and a purple burst back, or black sides and a black back, and then also an option to do a black neck or natural neck on the back of the neck. The headstock, we're going to do a purple burst to match, of course. So the community voted, and the community chose to do black sides, a purple burst on the back, and a black back to the neck. And of course, as always, my Patreon supporters, whom I very much appreciate, have special voting power. And by voting, well, not really voting power, they have special veto power. They are the executive branch of this administration. And they, for the first time, did not vote unanimously on this. So I believe it came down to like 30-1. They decided to veto the black neck. And so I just checked before I came on here. It was tied neck and neck, second place for doing a completely all natural back and sides and back of the neck. And it was also tied with doing black sides, purple burst back, and a natural neck. And I think I checked just before the live stream, and it looks like the back black, back sides, purple burst back, and natural neck was ahead by 1%. So that the Patreon supporters, while they do have veto power, they don't get to vote for what happens instead. The community still has the majority rule, and so whatever the community voted for the most next is what will become what becomes. And so I think as it stands now, we are just going to do black sides, a purple burst on the back, and we're going to leave the back of the neck natural, and we'll purple burst the headstock, and that's it. So that's good. I at least wanted a natural neck. I think a natural neck always feels better when you just put your finish straight on the neck without having to do any stains or dyes or anything. It's also good because the wood on the neck almost never soaks up stains and dyes the same as the body. So I like to leave the neck natural as often as possible. So I think that's a good vote. I wish we could have done the whole thing natural, because honestly, I think this looks really cool with the black purple burst and natural back and sides, but that's just me. This build's not for me, it's for you guys. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into my trick for covering up glue spots in paper thin veneers. And I'll show you close up what I did regarding the glue spots we had around the F-hole, because you can still see them if you're looking for them. And so they're not like completely gone, they're just better. And then I'll demonstrate for you how to do it in that spot in the upper horn there. So let's go ahead. I'm going to reposition the camera. And let's see if I can get in really close there. So you guys can sort of see uh, these are kind of the two spots where the glue was kind of bleeding up like that. And you can see if you go back and watch last week's live streams, that's 1,000 times better. This spot was especially tricky because it's right where the black blends with the purple. And so I had to just be really creative and really careful with my fix. And you can see there is, like in the light, you can kind of see the glare is reflecting off of my patch job a little bit differently than it is on the die. I'm not going to be concerned about that because once I put the shellac coat over on this, this is all going to have the exact same sheen. So RIT dye looks very dull without a finish. Once you put the finish on, then it really livens up and that's all going to blend together really well. So to show you how I did this, I'm going to go ahead and rotate this like this. Let's get an even better camera angle. You can see, hopefully in here, it's really not showing up so much. Maybe I'm going to reposition my light to see if I can get it to show up a little bit better. All right. Can you guys see in there? This is the worst demonstration. It's really hard to do this live because I'm using my phone and not my nice DSLR camera where I can really adjust the exposure to make that pop. Anyway, see, maybe if I even get closer. I'm trying to show there's a glue spot where the dye didn't get soaked up so well. Are people asking what I'm trying to show?
No, I'm looking at it on there.
You're looking at it on here. So there's a spot right here where the veneer was too thin and the glue soaked through, and you can see where the RIT dye didn't quite soak in near as much. Can you see it on there at all, babe?
A little bit.
A little bit? Okay. My wife says she can see it a little bit. Well, hopefully I can make you guys see it a little bit less. So here is my tried and true method for covering up spots in a veneer, glue spots in a veneer. So like right in here, you can see I got my special tool out. This is a Sharpie, okay? Over here on the F-hole was a bit more challenging because I had to use a couple different colors of Sharpie. I used blue and purple, and those seem to work pretty well. Now that we're up close, you could probably actually see my patch job a little bit better on this one.
I can see it on the F-hole too.
Yeah. So let's see if I can reposition this. You can kind of see it a little bit, but essentially what I do is I just give it, and you kind of have to be like Johnny on the spot, super quick, because you only have like a minute before, or not even a minute, you only have a few seconds before the Sharpie dries. And so what I do is I put like a little streak of Sharpie and then I rub it in real quick with my finger. And as I'm rubbing it in, it kind of blends in with that black stain a little bit. And it does, the only thing is it does leave a little bit different sheen. It actually seems to work better with stains than with dyes, especially RIT dye, because it's water-based. So I'm just kind of doing a little bit at a time and just kind of smudging it in there. And who knows, it might actually even look worse to you guys on camera, but it's looking 1,000 times better here in person. So how does that look? Can you guys see it? Is it any different? The comments keep popping up and I keep not being able to see it. So what do you guys think? Does that look better to you? You'll just have to take my word that it is better. All right, let's stop wasting time on this because I can't video it very well. So let's go ahead and go back.
What's telling me error, try again.
Error, try again. It says that I'm still connected. Well, you're not supposed to, if you're moderating the comments, you're not supposed to be watching the live stream.
I'm not.
Okay.
It's on my phone.
The chat is telling you error?
Yeah.
Oh, you're watching on your phone. I don't know. Well, let me know in the comments if you guys are still there. My wife says that she's having trouble connection issues, but I'm going to go ahead and move on. So we went ahead and patched that glue spot. This one is patched as good as it's going to get. Unfortunately, it's in a transitional spot where you kind of have to work with black and purple at the same time. And I got it as good as it's going to get. I think it's going to get better with the shellac. So some other things that I did to this body before we move on. I tried my darndest to get the flaming to come out better right here. You guys notice that this, the flaming in this veneer was really dull in this section. It still kind of is dull, but it's actually a lot better than it was. And you might notice too that there's like some streaks going along here. And what happened is as I was sanding this back to try to get more of that flame maple to come through, the flaming is so faint right there that what you're actually seeing is the wood grain. So those streaks are actually perfectly book matched, which is hilarious. So anyway, that's what we have to work with. We're doing our best. This is a kit, and this is not a real flame maple cap, obviously. So sometimes you run into issues, and you just have to work with what you have to work with. So let's sip a little bit of espresso real quick. All right. Good old Saul Good, always trying to bring wire and a blowtorch into everything. I'm still seeing comments, so I think we're still going. I think we're still good? Okay, good. All right, so let's go ahead and you guys certainly voted. Well, I guess you didn't certainly vote. It's still kind of in limbo, but I think the general majority would probably prefer black sides and a purple back. So why don't we just go ahead and do that right now? We get out the RIT die. It's already out over here. All right. I'll try to do this. Well, let's go ahead and move this up a bit. Maybe you can see me do this a little bit. It is very nerve-wracking doing this on camera because I'm used to just being able to take my time and not have to worry about it. But
Jamie's sad about the natural going away.
Oh, Jamie's sad about the natural going away. Sorry, Jamie, I am too. It hurts me more than it hurts you probably. There it goes.
Is that a paper towel?
This is not a paper towel. This is a cloth towel. You know, you can go to the hardware store and you can buy like a package of cut up t-shirt cotton swabs. That's what this is. I actually usually cut up my own shirts, but I'm fresh out of shirts that I'm willing to cut up at the moment. So I had to go buy some cloth rags. So it actually turns out to be about just as cheap to do that as it is to just go to a thrift store and buy a t-shirt for $1 and cut it up yourself. The price difference is not much different. Plus, you don't have to go through the work of cutting them up. Come pre-cut, which is nice. And then I cut them up smaller because really you don't need much to apply RIT dye, and I'd rather not be wasteful.
Asking about the binding again.
Okay. Asking why I'm not masking off the binding? Okay. The reason why I don't mask off the binding, this is a question that I answered last week, is because I've never had good luck with taping off the binding. I have spent a lot of time trying to get it perfect, only to do my stain or my dye, and have that dye still bleed past the tape, and oftentimes ends up making more of a mess because it will bleed past the tape and then drip down the side or drip down the back, and then I have to clean all that off or sand it all off before I can do that area. And so then I obviously still end up needing to um, I still end up needing to scrape the binding anyway. And so what I do is I just do all the stain, all the dye, and all the finish first. And then I go back and I scrape the binding. And then that leaves me with a very clean, clean binding because it's the very last thing and it's freshly scraped and it looks just absolutely beautiful. So for me, it's just easier to just do it this way. That way I can be careful that none of my dye is bleeding over the edges rather than trusting that the tape will do its job.
Try thinning latex paint with water.
Yeah, so somebody asked if I've tried thinning latex paint with water. And the truth is, yes, I have tried it. I've not done it on a build. In fact, if you go to Lowe's or Home Depot and you look at their water-based stains that are like colored, like if you're looking for like an orange or a yellow or a blue stain, and it's water-based, that's actually what you're getting. You're actually getting a latex paint that's been thinned, essentially. They might have something slightly different in their makeup, but it certainly handles the same way. The issue that I have with it is it's very difficult to work with because what you end up with is essentially watered down paint, which will drip and run, and where it deposits will be thicker than where than the rest of it. And because it's very thin, it does run very easily. And if you don't notice a deposit right away and try to wipe it away, when you go to wipe it away, it will have semi sort of solidified. And after it's semi solidified, when you wipe it away, you actually wipe away a chunk of it with it, which is extremely frustrating. So trying to get a very smooth, even finish is extremely difficult. And so this is looking pretty good. I think. So this side that I started on is already dry. So we're going to come back and do a second coat just to make this blackety black. So I much prefer just using oil-based stains, or if I have to do something water-based, I do a dye. It's generally easier to work with, easier to blend, easier to smooth out. And that's not always the case, but it's a general rule that I've experienced. So even RIT dye can be difficult. Like we're trying to layer it on really thick to match the black that we have on the front here. And I wouldn't be surprised if I end up taking some of it off as I'm trying to put more on right now. And so letting it dry first helps, but this is a live stream, and for brevity's sake, I'm not giving it the full time I probably normally would. I'm killing you doing the RIT dye over the top of.
We're gonna drip it on the front.
Well, if I do, RIT dye is forgiving, and I'll fix it. I'm stressing my wife out apparently with my bringing the RIT dye over the purple. So I'm doing it this way on purpose because if I drip RIT dye on the towel and this thing is flipped over face down, then I'm going to smear it into the wood grain, and that's going to be a much more difficult thing to fix. So that's why I'm doing it this way. And then when it comes time to do the other side, I'm actually going to pull, well, I'll just show you what I do to ensure that that doesn't happen. How many people are watching? Well, there's 85 people watching.
They're quiet.
It must be boring. I mean, seriously, how exciting can this be? No, the mouse is not left in the trap. By the way, update on our mouse friend. If you watched last week's live stream, there are actually times where you watch him jump out of his little mouse hole and like sniff around my little mouse traps. So I reset the traps. Apparently, he licked them clean. I reset the traps and I caught him that night. So actually meant to reset the traps before today's live stream to see if there's any more because I've caught 2 mice now out of that hole. And so that was my plan, was to reset it and see if we can catch it on camera. But I didn't, ran out of time. Okay, so we got the sides blackety black. They're looking pretty good. I might touch those up again a little bit later, but for now, let's go ahead and set this aside.
You're putting the G&G logo on it.
Am I putting the G&G logo on it? We're going to have to vote on that. It's something that you guys mentioned. Maybe we can put it, I definitely think putting it on the headstock would be cool. I think engraving the body, I don't know if I would like that. So I don't know if whoever wins it would like that.
Cousin Jeff is here.
Your cousin Jeff?
Yeah.
Jeff Bakel?
Yeah.
Jeff Bakel, what's up, man? Thanks for joining the stream. I appreciate it. Good to see you. All right. Another quick drink of espresso from my new espresso cup that my son made me in art class. All right. So here's what I do to make sure that there's no drips of dyes or anything that are going to get on that front. I'm just going to pull this off. Put it on. Fresh, clean one. Look at how clean that looks. It's a shop towel. All right. Here we go. Now we can get started on the back. G&G logo on the headstock would be fantastic, huh? I know lots of people are saying that's clean, the towel. Yeah, no, it is clean. It's fresh out of the wash, but it is a shop towel. So there's lots of stains and stuff on it, but nothing wet. It's going to ruin our beautiful top that we worked so hard on. So now let's get that dye.
Maybe answered this before, but someone asked to put the grain filler on before sanding it.
A grain filler on before sanding it. I do not do that. I've not had good luck with that. Lots of people, I think I would do a grain filler maybe if the wood was really, really open grained, but even then probably not, because I like seeing the wood grain exaggerated by the stain. People do a wood filler when they want the stain to be as even as possible. I like the character of the wood to show through. That's why I don't do it. And I've also honestly not had good luck with it. I usually don't get as vibrant of a color if I do it, but it could be just lack of experience. I might be doing it wrong. I don't know. But I don't do any filler. This is raw natural wood sanded to 220. That's what we have right here. So, and you can see on the back, we don't have any flame maple. So I'm far less concerned about trying to do anything to make, you know, the grain pop on this side. We're just going to go ahead, just put it all straight on here, just like we did on the other one. By the other one, I mean the front, of course. I noticed too, as I was sanding this, that the veneer on this side is really dry. And so there's a lot of like little like micro cracks in it that I wasn't able to sand out. And so like you can see as I'm putting it on there, you can see some of it kind of showing through. And so I'm putting this on real thick, and when we sand it back, it's going to leave black in those spots, unfortunately. But there's nothing I can do about that. I'm nervous that if I sand anymore, I'm going to sand through this top veneer, and then we're into the plywood that this is built out of. And that would not be good, especially for trying to do a stain. So we might do more black on the back here than we did on the front, just so it's not so obvious that that's the case. Again, you know, this isn't a high-end custom build that's made out of, you know, really solid grade A maple. This is a cheap kit made out of plywood with veneers glued to it. So we're going to do the best we can with what we have.
Do you always go in the same direction when applying the dye?
Do I always go in the same direction when applying the dye? Generally, I try to keep it in the direction of the wood grain. RIT dye is a little more forgiving, especially for this first coat. I probably don't have to because I'm really just kind of mashing it into the wood grain. And then we're going to sand it back lightly and add the purple over the top. And so it'll be far more important when I'm applying the last bit of purple to this, that I go with the grain, and I'll be, again, kind of far more careful. Like right here, you can tell that I'm just really letting as much get on the rag as possible, and I'm just kind of mashing it in. Again, because the wood's so dry, I'm getting at every crack and crevice, which unfortunately, when we sand back, will mean every crack and crevice will have black in it, so it'll be obvious, but it'll be better than the natural color of the wood showing through, which is what would happen if we didn't do that. And so at least a little bit of it might disappear.
Someone asked if you, it said they hope you use your lotion trick.
I forgot to again today. Forgot to use my lotion trick. Actually, the RIT dye actually washed off really easily last time. So I guess I got kind of lucky. We'll see if I'm as lucky this time. But especially with as thick as I'm putting on this black, I'm guessing that I'm probably going to be stuck, especially in the areas around my fingernails, like these little like cracks in here around my fingernails. If any dye gets up on there, well, definitely certainly has on my thumb. That's where it's going to last forever. That's where it's really nice to have that moisture barrier. All right. This is actually looking pretty good. A lot of that wood grain is showing through this black RIT dye. And black RIT dye does have sort of a natural purple tint to it. I talked about this a lot last week, which really makes it a good candidate for purple burst. And but if you do just black RIT dye, you can see, I'll show you when we're done, I'll hold it up closer to the camera, but all the wood grain is showing through as purple. So it kind of looks like a black guitar with purple wood grain, which is kind of cool. So I would be, if I was building this build for me or just for a video for my channel and not as a community build giveaway where you guys make all the choices, I would honestly probably just leave the back like this because I think it looks pretty freaking killer. And I think it definitely matches the front. All right. Still see some of that dry wood crackage coming through. Oh, and really bad down here too. I missed that. People still quiet in the chat, huh? Oh, one thing that you guys can help me out with, I went back and I read all the comments on the replay, and very, very few of you did what I asked you to do and went to the Dylan Pickups website and told me what you wanted to see for our pickups. I think I only got maybe 2 comments last I checked. And so I didn't think that was enough to run a poll. That's why you didn't see a poll this week on what kind of pickups. But we got to get that order in soon if we want those to show up. You know, we don't want to delay this community build any more than we already have to for that Duesenberg tremolo that may or may not ever arrive. I might have to just find a more expensive one in stock somewhere and just bite the bullet. cancel my current order. Man, I really want to get all these filled in black because I don't want to be scrubbing the purple on. I want to be doing a good, nice, even coat with the purple. It seems like the more this dries, the more those show up.
David says he likes the crack.
David Cap?
Yeah.
Yeah, David, I'm with you. I think again, like what I said earlier about wanting the character of the wood to show through. I think that's part of the character. But I think there has been resounding response from everyone not to make this a relic like it typically would. And so I think we got to do our best to make this thing look as pristine as possible, is what the general community is going after, it feels like. So just gonna keep doing it till it's all gone.
Well, not that you use Kita dye.
I have had Kita dyes in my Amazon cart for about 3 or 4 years now. I really want to try them. I'm sure they're great. I just have so much RIT dye on hand. And the great thing about RIT dye is that if I'm like in a pinch, need to pick some up, I can just go to my local craft shop, like Joann's or Michael's or something, and they have every color of RIT dye. And so that's why I've ended up with so much RIT dyes. It's usually like, after I'm looking at a guitar, I'm like, I think this one should be orange. And so then I just run to the craft store and get orange dye instead of waiting for it to be shipped. But I should get a combo pack of Kita dyes to try, especially because you guys know that I struggle to do a really good blue with RIT dye. And I've seen some blue guitars done with Kita dye that look fantastic. And that's the one color that I have trouble with RIT dye. And so that alone would probably be worth a shot, I think, to try to get right.
We got $5 from Lucifer Builds. He says that thing looking cool, man. Big fan of the channel. Cheers.
I got a super chat from who?
Lucifer Builds.
From Lucifer Builds. Thank you for the super chat, man. I appreciate it. It says that thing's looking cool, man. Big fan of the channel. Cheers. Thank you very much, man. I really appreciate the encouragement. I really appreciate the super chat. Thank you. All right, so I think that's looking good. We'll just give it a minute to kind of dry. It's a little bit drier today than it was last time we did this, so maybe it can dry on its own. While it's drying on its own, let's do a quick commercial break for, let's see if I can get that in the way. Perfect. At some point this week, I'm going to do another live stream. I don't know when. I need to talk to Mrs. Guns about it, see what works for her schedule. But I got this in the mail. This is my kit for the Great Guitar Build-Off. Okay, you guys who showed up to this live stream, you're the first to know that I'm doing the Great Guitar Build-Off this year. So I'm excited to unbox this kit. I don't know what they sent. I have a sneaking suspicion that we all got the same kit this year because they did not ask me what kit I wanted like they did the first year that we did it. I didn't do it last year because I was too busy to do it, unfortunately. But I'm super grateful that they asked me to do the Invitational again. And any chance I get to raise money for a good cause, I want to be all in for, especially if it has to do with guitar building. And so we're going to be unboxing that and see what they sent us. And then maybe we'll spitball some ideas of what we're going to do with the kit. Because I honestly have no idea what I'm going to do for the Great Guitar Build-Off this year. I've been waiting for the kit to arrive before I've invested too much thought about it. Ooh, we got another super chat. Dennis Stoneman, what did you say? Let me get that. Okay. I'm trying really hard to push on that super chat and it just won't come. Okay, what does it say?
Nitrocellulose satin finish.
Nitrocellulose satin finish. We can try that. So thank you for the super chat, by the way. I really appreciate that. If you guys want to see a nitrocellulose satin finish, so nitrocellulose, I can't even say it, nitrocellulose lacquer finish is a spray-on finish. You guys know that I'm not a super big spray-on finish guy. And by that, I mean, I've never tried it on guitar because I'm afraid, because I know how much work it is and how careful you need to be. And so I just have stuck with the typical stains and dyes because it's something that's a little bit more accessible for the average DIY person in their garage. But if that's what you guys want to see on this build, let me know in the comments because that's what we're actually going to be voting on this week. We jumped the gun on it, so I appreciate. Who was it again? I wish I could bring up that super chat.
Dennis Stoneman.
Dennis Stoneman. Thanks again, Dennis Stoneman, for bringing that up. You kind of jumped the gun a little bit because as soon as this thing was done, I was going to ask you guys to tell me what type of finish you want to see on this. And so if you guys want to see a nitrocellulose lacquer satin finish, I'm sure it would look killer. I'm a little nervous to try it myself, but if you guys have confidence in my abilities to figure things out, or to really, if you have confidence in my ability to fix my own mistakes, then I'm up for trying it. I'm game. All right, this is still not dry, so I'm going to do what I did last time and get out the heat gun. Oh, one. Can't move the camera.
The people said they'll never do nitro finish again.
Lots of people are saying they will never try a nitro finish again. See, and that's all I ever hear, and that's why I just haven't tried it. I think if I was to do a spray-on finish, it would probably be 2K clear, just because I've heard really good things about the spray nozzle that those cans come with. That kind of allows you to, it's the closest thing to a professional spray gun finish that you can get in a can. And so that's why I'm leaning towards that direction. Oh, man.
Someone said your shirt is awesome.
Oh, someone said my shirt is awesome. This shirt is available for sale on my website if you guys are interested, gunsandguitars.net. So what I'm doing here, I'm just accelerating the drying process. Rit dye dries really fast. And typically during this stage, I would just walk away and make a cup of coffee or work on another project for about 10 or 15 minutes. But you guys don't want to just watch stain dry or dye dry for 15 minutes in a live stream. So we're accelerating it a little bit. I don't want it to get too hot because it'll exaggerate those cracks that I tried so hard to cover up with the dye. Almost there. The reason why it's taking so long to dry is because I had to put it on so thick to fill in those cracks. All right, and we're dry. So I want to show you guys this. Obviously, the black is not super even right now because I wasn't going for a finish coat, but you guys can see sort of in this light how it looks black, but the wood grain actually looks purple. That's a really cool effect that you get from Rit dye, and I think that looks really cool. Again, I mean, oh, so here you can really see it well in this lighting. So again, if I was doing this for myself, I'd probably just kind of maybe lightly sand this a little bit to even it out and call it good. But we're going to go ahead and purple burst it because that's what you guys said we should do. So in the same manner as last week, just going to get some sandpaper and a sanding sponge since this is a curved top. I'm just going to sand it back a bit in the middle. If you guys are watching the replay, feel free to go ahead and hit the 2 times or 4 times button to speed through this part. All right. And honestly, I'm probably just going to make this back part quite a bit darker than the front, just because, one, for brevity's sake, because we're doing this all via live stream, but two, I mean, I think that looks pretty good. So if I were to use a sanding sealer or a grain filler or something before I did stain, in theory, what it would do is it even out some imperfections in the wood. Like right here, you can see was a less dense spot in the wood, and so it soaked up more stain there. You can see right here, kind of in this little piece of grain, there's a darker spot, and that's that kind of stuff. That's that's the character of the wood, and that's the stuff that I kind of like to see. So that's the reason why I don't do it. Um, I think maybe if I got better results when I did it, it would be worth doing that extra step. And maybe I just need to practice with it more. But typically, what happens is the body then just ends up taking stain and dye not as vibrant. And so I end up being kind of disappointed. So that's why I don't do it that way. Quick sip of coffee.
So with all that sanding, you should have a Popeye arm.
I know. Sanding is my least favorite part of this process. Absolutely. I think I actually mentioned that last week that I was thinking about doing a video on how to spend less time sanding. Still on my list. That purple has a lot of black matched in it. I'm gonna give you a rag. Some of you guys asked about my rags earlier. This is what I was talking about. Got it at my local Ace Hardware, and it's just cut up t-shirts. That's what I'm using here. Cut up cloth, t-shirt, rags, whatever. And so they come in sizes like this, which would be perfect if you're like doing like staining like a dining table. But because I'm just doing multiple different colors on a guitar, do that. Just that much is good. And last week, if you caught the live stream, you know that I did a step in between the black and the purple. I did blue, and that's again for the flaming to add extra depth and dimension to it. I don't typically do that if it's just standard wood like here on the back. So we're going straight to purple. I don't think it needs that blue in there for this specifically. How long are we at so far? 43 minutes. Why didn't you tell me when we hit 30 minutes? I'm trying to keep these 30 minutes.
Because you were barely starting.
Okay. Sorry. All right. So here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to apply the purple, and then that will be the end of the live stream. How about that? So you can see now I'm being much more careful to apply this nice and even. I'm not just like mashing it in. But I am still going over the black to help even out the transition between the black and the purple. Oops, left a little bit of cotton there.
So that you think that you shouldn't worry how long you still have 105 people watching right now.
Yeah, and so that's a good point. If people are still watching, why not keep going? The reason why is because a lot of people can't make it to these live streams, and so they end up watching the replay. And I want the replay to actually be something worthwhile to watch. And so, we've had a few instances in this specific live stream where it's been like dead silent for like 5 minutes while I wipe on stain. And that's not super exciting. And so that's why I try to keep it moving. That's why I get out the heat gun and try to accelerate the drying process so we can move on.
David Cap asked, why aren't you doing blue this time?
So David Cap asked, why am I not doing blue this time? I thought I just answered that, didn't I?
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
so because this side doesn't have the flaming in the veneer, I decided I don't need that extra depth and dimension that it brings. I don't think it would really add anything to this wood grain. Right here, pretty much all I'm trying to do is get it to look black with a hint of purple in the middle. And really, it's the back of the guitar, so it doesn't need to look amazing. Obviously, I want it to look as good as possible because anything that's got my name on it, I want it to be awesome, right? But I don't think that bottom line, I don't think that doing the blue would add anything. I think this is going to look pretty amazing. And again, I think that doing the 3 different colors in the burst really helps when you have a flame maple cap or a flame maple veneer. to add extra dimension to that flaming. But there's no flaming in this. It's just the raw wood grain. And so again, we're just going for just a subtle purple inside the black. And that looks pretty darn good.
They're all talking because they want you to keep going. Tim Chapin sent you a, what do you call it?
A super chat?
Super chat.
Oh, Tim. Tim's great. Tim is he's one of my Patreon supporters.
Can you see what he said?
Oh yeah, there it is. All right. Tim Chapin says Kita dyes are okay. Since you like straight from the bottle application like RIT dye, try Angelus leather dyes, top notch, but always oil rub finish. I agree with you. So what? What'd you say? Angelus. I've heard it pronounced both ways. Angelus makes sense because that's like Spanish for angels, right? But I don't think it's spelled that way. Not like Los Angeles. So I think it's Angelus. I don't know. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Thank you for the tip, Tim. I appreciate you very much. And yeah, so if I want to do it straight from the bottle, I got to try Angelus dyes. So from what I've heard about the Kita dyes is that you mix them into a bottle and then you take it straight from the bottle. So I don't know. I'd be curious if you guys have used Kita dyes. Was that your experience? Because I certainly don't want to mix it every time I do it. I'd rather just mix it and keep it in a container like this. Maybe repurpose an old RIT dye bottle or a water bottle or something. You guys let me know what your experience is with that. But it's almost dry. It looks a little wetter on one side than the other. But you can see we got a nice little subtle purple burst finish there. And you can see where the color looks a little more vibrant, it's just still a little bit wet right there. And so once it dries out, it'll be a little more even. And then, of course, we're going to put the shellac on there, and then it's going to make it look how it looks when it's wet. So the whole thing is going to be just beautiful. So we'll do, well, I keep saying we're going to do shellac, but we actually haven't voted on the finish yet. If it were my choice, I would do a coat of shellac and then a coat of true oil, probably 3 or 4 coats of true oil, get a nice hand rub satin finish, just as Tim mentioned in the super chat. I honestly think that's hands down the best way to finish a guitar. It feels good, it looks good, it ages and wears beautifully. But some of you guys want to see me do a spray on finish. So now's the time to do that. I was actually just getting ready to end this, but I forgot to have you guys let me know what kind of finish you want to see. So make sure you guys leave that in either in the replay or in the live chat. I'll go back and watch. And yeah, I feel like I had something else I wanted to say. We're not. My wife is awesome. That's definitely worth saying. Have you guys enjoyed having Mrs. Guns in the chat? We certainly missed her the week that she was gone. Yeah, shellac and true oil. I see 4 strings is saying. Robert R says looking pretty good. All right. David says, is it possible to do anything other than true oil? David, really? From you? You think it's possible to do anything other than true oil? Yeah, it is possible to do literally anything other than true oil. It's very possible. You guys just have to vote for it. All right, nitro spray finish. David Moore says shellac and true oil. All right, you guys are getting your comments in there. I appreciate it. And we are at 48 minutes, so I'm going to draw this to a close. I really appreciate you guys. Stay tuned. I will let you know when I unbox that great guitar build-off guitar. It might be tomorrow. It might be Wednesday. It might be Thursday. It might be Friday. All right. See you guys later. Thanks for joining.